What's the movie that you waited the longest to watch, and when you finally watched it, it like blew your mind? Like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. For me, it was First Blood.
So blew you away in a good way.
Yeah,
okay.
I had always thought Rambo was like him in Afghanistan with bazookas, and I was like, a little bit corny for my taste. And somebody's like, no, watch First Blood, because I like cinematic 70s, kind of gritty movies, and I wasn't expecting First Blood to be that kind of just like this, subtle tale that builds and it's just like real cinematic. And I realized, wow, any movie that spawns 4 sequels has to be fucking good. So, any movie out there that has 4 or more movies in the franchise, I'll always give the first one a shot.
I think I agree with you. I never saw any of the Rambo movies until Blu-ray, until they came out in a Blu-ray box set, and you told me kind of about this.
Oh, yeah?
And I watched the first one, and I was fucking affected by it. It was like, I thought this was dumb action movies. This is the story of this guy coming back from Vietnam, and there's no place for him, and the world is different. And oh my God, it honestly affected me. And then I watched the other ones, and it was like, this is gross. Like that first one is so poignant that I couldn't watch these sequels that were just dumb. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't. Seeing them all at once, it ruined the other ones for me. I couldn't do it.
Was there any movie for you guys where people were like, you have to watch it? Like, I'm not watching that. And then you finally watched it, and I was like, oh shit. That was fucking good.
The first Terminator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you guys told me Terminator. I watched it last year, and I thought that movie fucking ruled.
Yeah.
That was great. And then Terminator 2, I watched and thought, it wasn't as good.
That's so fucked up.
Hey, you know what? We talked about
so
my family didn't have Star Wars growing up. We had Terminator 2. So that was the movie that I would always like, oh, free time in the afternoon, let's pop in Terminator 2. Yeah. But what about you?
For me, around the same time as the Star Wars thing, which I think I said 99 earlier, but that was like 96 or 7. Yeah. And around that same time, I was going to a Halloween party around the same time of year, and my friends were telling me all weeks up to it, we're going to watch A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, okay.
We've got from the Spice Channel, my friend recorded Channel 99.
Spice Channel.
We've got the Boob
Channel.
That was on.
We've got a copy of A Clockwork Orange, this X-rated movie, this banned horror film or whatever. They talked it up. My friends were like,
well, I think in the UK
it
may have been.
Yeah, it was a video nasty of its era. Yeah. And I looked up to all these punk kids I was hanging out with, and I'm like, oh, what's this fucking movie?
Yeah.
What's this porno?
It's gonna blow my mind. Yeah, like what is this fucking? And there is like
Clockwork Orange.
There's a lot of rape scenes in Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange,
yes,
and I had not seen,
as opposed to Jim Henson's.
So like this party happens, and everyone's hanging out, and we're watching A Clockwork Orange as planned. And I have never seen, like I said, my parents had some Star Wars and The Breakfast Club and Ghostbusters and shit on tape. But now I'm getting to see some Kubrick, baby. And I was fucking freaked out. Like too much for me.
Yeah.
Some of the violence and stuff like that was like, holy shit.
I've seen it once. I did not like it.
No, I didn't like it either. Yeah.
So I really was affected and then turned off for years like that. I remember that movie. That was too much. Fuck that. And then something like maybe 2-3 years later, probably around senior year, I gave it maybe back in my film as lit class, learning more about filmmaking and getting way into Kubrick. I went back, and that has fucking cemented itself as like my absolute favorite Stanley Kubrick movie now.
That one is.
I love A Clockwork Orange.
More than The Shining or any of that?
Yep. Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Which it's interesting. It affected me in such a negative way, but it impacted on me in that way.
Yeah.
That made me so curious. I don't know. It's that thing for me. Like, was definitely A Clockwork Orange. That it was like hyped up and then overwhelming, and then I had to like cool on it for a couple of years to come back to it to appreciate it.
I would say too, in terms of the descriptor that you said of like being something where the people who told me, like, I'm like, no, thanks. You know, like having that attitude of like, yeah, not going to watch that, especially like who's recommending it to you or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say another two big ones are Fight Club, because everyone who told me about it was definitely not someone that the point landed on of that movie.
They just thought it was cool.
Oh, it's so fucking cool. These guys fucking fight. you know, all this like,
Dude, we should have
all this like,
do that
all
after
this
school.
hyper masculinity shit, and then you see the movie, and it's like, oh, the movie's a fucking commentary on it, and it's brilliant, and it's shot so well. And then Mean Girls.
Mean Girls is a good movie.
Mean Girls is like, I'm not gonna watch Lindsay Lohan's new comedy. Are you fucking kidding me? It's a great movie.
It's a really good movie.
So
Yeah.
those.
That's
those
Tina
are
Fey
two
wrote it,
good
right?
ones.
Yeah, Tina Fey and
Nice.
Tim Meadows wrote together, I think. It's good. It's good.
Tim Meadows was super good on this. Johnny Pemberton had a Fox sitcom.
Pemberton.
It was called. It was like a half animated, half live, or it was live action, but there was an animated component to it. Did anyone see this?
No.
Like current TV stuff.
No,
Damn.
no,
You know,
No
what's
one's
funny?
gonna know. He played the dad. And he was fucking great on it.
Look
I
at-
forget you sleep on Tim Meadows.
Looking at the chat, it's like everyone's like Mean Girls rules. Everyone like likes Mean Girls. Like
Son
that
of
movie
Zorn.
really pulled it off. Like good. Yeah,
It's great.
It's so weird that like that movie was able to like everyone's like yeah, good movie.
What's wrong with Mean Girls?
Nothing. That's my point. But like
I've never seen it.
Seeing the trailer or seeing the box art, it's like
Yeah.
this
Lindsay
wasn't
Lohan
made
didn't.
for me.
Lindsay Lohan didn't have a lot of like real great films. So that one being as good as it is kind of like, oh
about
wow,
Herbie?
it's surprising.
Herbie
I like Mean
Fully Loaded.
Girls. I like Heathers.
I don't like Heathers.
I
didn't
love
like that.
Heathers.
I never saw.
I like
I like-
her latest
I
film.
might like Heathers better than Mean Girls.
I like her